I picked up a couple of these little mini keggers lately, and they're so cute. I hate throwing them out when they're empty, so I decided to make banks out of them. I'll have a couple. I'll give a couple away to friends. I'm gonna make one now. After you relieved all the pressure out of here, and pop off the top. That's garbage. I like to, you don't have to, but I like to throw a small drill bit in there in case there's a little bit of pressure. What's in there is one of these little canisters. I think it's carbon dioxide, I'm not sure. It's off to the side and we got to get that out of there. So in the past I did a couple of these. I drilled 2 and 2.5 inch holes. I'm going to try with a 2 1/8. This thing measures about 1 3/4 inches. So I should be able to get it out of there. Just got to get some pliers in there. Alright, always be careful when working with metal. It's sharp, it will cut you bad. But as long as you're careful. There's that little canister. So I will take a pair of pliers in my first attempt at getting it through a small hole like this. I think they hot melt it. Just crack it off the bottom. I think they use hot melt. It's got to be something safe. There's your beers in there. Or whatever. And there we go. Add that to my collection. Alright, now I'm going to go around here with a wire brush, wire wheel. Another thing to remember is don't let little kids get near this because they could get their hands stuck in there and that could lead to a lot of bad things. This is strictly adult. Good to let the wire wheel push down so it pushes the little metal particles inside rather than up and at your face. I'm just going to go around real lightly with my finger. It seems to be okay. Alright, I'm going to wash this out with hot soapy. Oh, you know what else is in there? A little tube. Little tube. And the piece that you drilled out, got to get all that out. Sometimes you got to fish for it with pliers. Alright, I rinsed it all out. I just basically fill it with hot tap water and soap and shake it around, dump it out. Never try to put your hands in there, you're going to get cut. And do that a few times, let it run over, get all the metal shards out of there, and get whatever was in there out so your coins don't get sticky. And I'm going to let that dry overnight. This is one I did yesterday. See, the hole's a little bigger, but I find that 2 1/8 inch is just enough to get that out of there. You might even be able to do it with 2 inch. This is like 2 1/4, 2 1/2. It's a little big. What I'm going to end up with is something like this for the top. I'll show you how I make it. It's going to cover. You got to put 4 screws in there. I got this one marked out, but I'll do one from scratch. This is 1/2-inch poplar. You could use whatever you want. You could even use plastic if you want. I like wood. So, a good way to cut this out. This is about 3 3/4 inches, I think. Good way to cut this out, if you don't mind spending the money. You could get a bigger hole saw. Bigger than that. Here's my 2.5. The thing is, they wanted like $20 for the, well, if you want 3.5-inch outer, you got to get about a 4-inch hole saw, maybe 3 3/4. They wanted $20 for the hole saw, and another $18 for the arbor, I guess you call it, that goes on it. And it just wasn't worth it to me. So you use whatever you want. If I'm going to be doing a few of these, I'll probably get a hole saw. But I use right now this little rotor guy. Pretty cool. All right, I'll get set up. I got my 1/2-inch piece of poplar screwed to my workbench with a couple of deck screws just to hold it in place. Right, I'm gonna make a little pilot hole so I can put my guide in there about here. I think the hole saw, eventually I'll buy a hole saw. It's a little easier than this, but this is what I got. So I'll cut my rough hole now, and then I'll finish it up outside on the sander and all that. Before sanding, I like to use one of these guys to scribe a little line to let me know where to sand to, make it nice and even. I'll mark both sides. I think I'm going for about a 3 3/4 inch cap. Sand that down, bevel it pretty nice, and because I found I made a few of these, I made myself a template. Later on I'm going to put it on, mark the coin slot hole, and my 4 screws to screw into the top of the mini keg. Here we go. To the sander. Got my little sanding and drilling station set up here. Here we go. Little dance I like to do with the sander. Be careful. Don't get your fingers caught. Look at more round. When you're satisfied with the smoothness of your wheels, then you got to mark for your slot, your coin slot, and your holes. So I got my template, pretty much the same size as the wheel. Original hole is in the middle, And I'll just mark it. And we'll drill from there to my other ones. What I'm going to do with the drill press is the slot. These guys I'm just going to hit with the drill. Little pilot holes into the metal on the top of the kegger. Got my fence set up. So it's centered. Once I got most of it, just bring it up and run it along. Clean it up. And just do that till it's nice and even. Now I'm just going to drill some pilots in these other marked holes. Later on, I'll drill through them into the top of the mini kegger. But right now, to clean it up, I'll run it through the sander. Now I'm going to take my top, center it over to kegger, and drill tiny pilot holes into the middle. There you go. You can just stain the top if you like, seal it, or just leave it plain. And there's your new coin bank. Yo. Throw some change in there. Save it for a rainy day. That's it. Later.